retiree who fell ill and had to
choose between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Husker Hoops just wrapped up as Williams turns the corner. 2 more into the line. A chance for 3, Bryce Williams. Hustle down to the block, post up, and go to work now on 93.7 The Ticket. And the offensive rebound. Fair game. Butunjel. The post-game post-up is sponsored by Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, and Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. There's a CJ, same spot, same result. He is red hot. A CJ in ahead, half court. Eulis with it goes, and it counts. Aaron Eulis with a half-court 3 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in to the end of the Husker basketball game. This is the Nebraska men's basketball postgame show. Just wrapped up with Rutgers. We'll get your thoughts in here. 402-464-5685. That is the Starter Heyman text line if you guys want to join in. Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. Real quick, want to shout out our sponsors, Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, Electrical, and Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. All right, Strick, you don't want to hear me talk
right now.
Yeah, we can use the spirits.
It is Thursday.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I know it's might be 11 when I get out of here, but some spirits on the way home don't sound too bad. It's one of those days. That's a tough loss for Nebraska. Strick, I'll let you start off here and the magnitude of what that game was and the opportunity that just got dropped.
Well, we've always talked about the importance of what Nebraska has to do at home. 20-game win streak snapped at home. A team that's 9-8 coming in, struggling. And I knew that this game, if it got into the upper 70s in the 80 range where they're successul, this is going to be trouble.
You've been right on that all year. You said that earlier, and that has been the exact case.
That's what happened.
St. Mary, St. Mary's was a little close, but Michigan State, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Just not built for that type of game.
Yeah.
Get that high scoring.
They're not. Yeah, you get way above what your average defense is holding, which was like I think a 69. Then they're going to be in trouble. Here's why that's the case. You don't have what they have. They have 2 guys that, although being young, are tremendous shot makers, very good, creative, athletic, and have means by which to break you down.
We're talking Harper and Bailey, right?
We're talking Harper and Bailey. They got that's different makers. Yeah, listen, shout out. Guys play good. Bryce and those guys play good. But you cannot let this team come in and dominate you with loose ball in your home. They're winning all the loose balls. Their second chance points, although you win the second chance points, the key to it is when it mattered. How is this team that doesn't really have center play beat you in points in the paint by 10? So all things being equal, let's just take it. They shoot 50% from the field, 45% from you. They get more opportunities. They shoot 41% from 3, you shoot 41% from the 3. You get them at the free throw line, but you shoot 27 of them and shoot 63% and only make 17.
That's a little bit. That's a few games in a row now where that free throw number slipped, and I thought that was going to be one of the strengths coming in here. Iowa, same thing.
Yeah.
How many free throws we missed at that one, and that 15-point lead goes away, and it's just another one of those games. The free throw numbers. I'll let you keep running down this box score here and fill everybody in on those team stats, though.
You know, Harrison, you took care of the ball for the most part. Only 7 turnovers.
Yep, that was good.
8 for them. That's what they do. They don't turn the ball over. I think 10 is what they do. All things being equal, you just continually go down it. Bench points, both pretty equal. They dominate you points in the paint. Everything equal. What is the differentiator in a big game? 1, who did I say? Ace Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Ace Bailey is a mid-60s free throw shooter. When it counted or when they needed it, guess what he does? 2 big ones. Okay, your other one misses, but what does he do? He splits your defense on multiple occasions, gets downhill, either finishes or gets to the rack. That's the difference, because you can't do that now. Shout out to Bryce Williams, makes a big 3 to close the gap.
That's a couple of times he's done that for us. We need to pull one of these games out.
But the problem is that's late game making solid, but you don't have that guy that can make those easy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Guess what? Ace Bailey at going into the half, coming off, going right, pulling up 3. We have no one really that can do that outside of Bryce.
No,
Season can, but
it's still not
hard.
the same,
it seems
though,
hard. Talk to
because
me.
Like, I love Season. Like, we have a bunch of great pieces, but when you talk about people like Bailey and you talk about people like Harper, the difference, they can do it all. I mean, it's 3 level. The ball handling, the going downhill to
defense.
Step back 3, the defense. It's tough, and that's why we're in Nebraska. You play really good defense because we got guys like Connor Season then got hot. We've got guys like Bryce Williams. But when you have those kind of players over there for Rutgers, we don't have something to kind of match up with that, especially when you get into these late game situations. It was Bryce Williams basically versus 2 there at the end of that offense. And you give credit to the guys for fighting until the very end there. But I'll say this much. The thing that frustrated me the most, especially at the home court, was what lost us the game were the effort plays.
Yes.
It's the rebounding. How is that
yes.
thing at
Loose
home?
balls. Yes.
Because we went through and I'm glad you went through that, because if you go through the box score, you'd be like, wow, what a well-matched game. And if you're going to watch the tape, you're going to see one team fight a little bit harder for some loose balls.
bit harder.
And that was the game right there. And they just, you give credit to that team. I mean, they didn't go away. Nebraska kept scoring, kept putting 2, 4, down to 2, up to 6, and Rutgers wouldn't go away. And a lot of that was because they just kept getting offensive rebounds. They had a stretch there. I think they missed 4 straight baskets. And they got 4 straight offensive rebounds and eventually put the 5th one in. Like, that's good luck winning games when that's the case.
That's a fact. Shout out to YouTube streamers. Thank you guys for chiming in today on this post-game show. Again, sponsored by Action Plumbing and Heating, as well as Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirit. So listen, Kriha Film says this, and this is what we were just talking about. Serious defensive issues. No big shot makers in the clutch when we need it.
Well, I'll push back because Bryce Williams has been clutch.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you need a defensive stop with it.
But again, he's making tough shots.
Very tough shots.
I mean, those guys are just getting to spots. It seems easier.
It does, but like Bryce Williams' spot is that mid-range jumper that looks tough.
Now, he did hit some good ones tonight.
And the same thing for like Bailey and Harper. When you see those guys go downhill, it looks easy. The touch on some of those layups, though. I mean, they have some phenomenal. So, like, yeah, it looks like one of those things where you get to your spot. I mean, that's what Bryce is doing. They're getting to their spot. They just happen to be one's around the rim and the other one's that nice mid-range jumper that Bryce has got. But yeah, I mean, this is just a tough one to still kind of dissect here. What do you think needs to be the changer for this Husker team? Because again, offense, it's not like it was abysmal. Defense,
no,
you were getting stops. You just weren't getting rebounds every time.
Well, there's 2 things. One, for me, and where my frustration sometimes comes is IQ stuff that I just see on the court. And let me give you an example. You hear people talking about defense, right? Some of the stuff was defense created just because of IQ. Okay, I'm gonna give you one example. Juwan Gary has Ace Bailey. Well, there's 2 of them. Juwan Gary has. I'm gonna use Juwan. I'm not picking on him. I'm just using.
Yeah, he had a great game by all means.
Yeah, he played well. No, I'm just talking about IQ stuff, and it happens between all of them. He has them on the left side. Their defensive strategy is very similar to ours when we played. So it's force baseline, no middle. That was our that's their scheme, right? Juwan Gary has that on Ace Bailey, that coverage, high side, no middle, but you have to have spatial awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me, Harrison? What I mean by that is the offensive man and Ulis comes over, you should shift now. Because Ulis being there, there's nowhere for that guy to go.
Yeah, he's looking to get he's looking to get rid of that ball.
Right? So you have, I wish I had a whiteboard on this one, but if you can see my hand, Ace Bailey's my pointed hand. Ulis comes here, his offensive man comes here, and what he should do is adjust just slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't get beat to the basket and draw a foul. That's one. Similar thing, great coverage, Juwan, drives, Ace Bailey's right-handed. He pulls up, you're there, you did your job, but you foul him when you do that to him as opposed to just allowing him to take a tough challenge. And if he makes it, he makes it. But you bailed him out. And it's just stuff like that throughout the night that compounds that ends up adding along with the hustle plays that they ended up beating you in your own home.
Yeah, and there's even times where I thought that defense was working, right? Like there's a lot of times where I saw Rutgers going baseline and they were selling out for baseline to the point where they were both feet up in the air, out of bounds, literally trying to throw it back in place somewhere to the 3-point line. And I was amazed how many times at the top of the key that guy on the 3-point line is just wide open, ready to get a guy who's just totally bailed on the play.
Yeah.
It's a turnover. If you land,
if you're yeah.
And it's just one of those things where just times we got caught watching. It's like we did our job, we forced him baseline. He put himself in a situation where he's got to pass it, but we just too many people kind of standing around watching. I sometimes wonder if there's times where I like what we do on defense, but the way Rutgers is get a little bit more aggressive on intercepting those passing lanes, because that was one where when we got them beat and they're going baseline all the time, it was so easy for them to kick it out to that 3-pointer. And everyone just felt like they're crashing in. They'd go baseline, kick it to the 3. It was over and over. And it's just a lot. If it wasn't Harper and it wasn't, why am I blanking on the other one? Ace Bailey. Thank you. They didn't have an intention of going in there and actually shooting.
No.
They were going in there to go find one of the other two. So when you see those guys going get in front of them, but put your hands up. And the other guys get ready to sell out on intercepting a pass. And that was kind of part of the frustration. I saw them multiple times. What looked like bad offensive decisions work out really well for him.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues is you go up 7, you have a 7-0 run, you're up, and then you have a lackluster hustle play.
Yeah,
that Rutgers beat you to, and then now the run shifts and it goes the other way around, as noted here by Jason Baird on the text line. He states letting them go on a 9-0 run around the 4 to 2 minute mark in the second half. Then the wheels came off. Yeah, I mean, it's just stuff like that, right? Because they actually have some people that they can go to when it matters. Now, yes, Bryce is a big shot maker. Bryce needs help.
He does.
Bryce can't do it without extra help to help him to get, because he doesn't have the same type of handle that Dylan Harper has.
No, and you saw that.
You can tell. So Dylan's handle is very good. He's got very good pull. He's got very good split. He's got very good creativity, hesitation. He can do all of that stuff.
And that first step is what makes that day. He's got lethal blow by, and we saw that over and over.
Bryce doesn't have it the same way. So what you saw a lot tonight too is you saw a lot of deep penetration. Pause. You saw a lot of that. You definitely saw it, but there was attacking the Rutgers defenders by yourself. This is bad IQ stuff. You attack them by yourself. You're jumping up into them, and there's 3 of them, and they're long.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not big, but they're long. You've done your job once you've drawn 2. Now, you can listen, you heard what I said. Harrison, when you draw 2, you've done there's 3 in there. They said the announcer said one time it was a role play. He tried to pass it to the roll guy, and there was 3 Rutgers guys in the freaking middle of the paint. Easy steal. Once you've done that, Bryce in one instance drove, and there's 4 Rutgers guys in there, predetermined, and fundamental fast break stuff. Let me give you an example. One instance, they get a steal. Braxton Mea's running. I think Royley Worcester's running, and maybe Bryce is on the left. It was something of that nature. They were running dang near side by side like they was doing the do-si-do. They could have been holding arms like they was, you know what I'm saying, doing the mamushka or something, right? And fundamentally sound fast break work is middle run, hit dang near the sidelines, and then slowly crash. They were running like in a single file straight line, like they was on the Squid Games.
And this is a team that's going straight to the cup,
right?
Like there's no time to dance around like that. And I want to ask you this
real quick.
You go for it. Let
me finish that. Yeah. Raleigh tries to do some up and under stuff. And my thing is, all they had to do was continue to retreat. You had advantage. What do you do if you're the middle guy? You stop. You don't keep going in and 3 guys in there with 2 guys. Now you're creating this hard shot. This is why the mid-range is a lost art. You stop because Stricky, downhill. Oh, you going to keep backing up? Back up.
It's such easy. A lethal shot. And look at what it does for Bryce Williams.
And then if somebody takes you, first person I'm looking for is Braxton Mea.
And who did?
Because the big fella ran. He hardly gets the touches. He can go above the rim, get him the rock, and let him finish.
You read my mind. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. I've thought about this. Braxton Mea, I will say, I said it before we started, easiest assist you'll get. He is a giant. If he's near the rim, we've got to do a better job of finding. What did he shoot today? Only 3? Braxton.
Couple dunks, too.
Yeah, a couple.
Finally.
It's just, to me, when you got a guy like that, 3 for 3, I understand, also going to help you a lot for getting guys into foul trouble. That was something we actually did pretty well in that first half, but as the game went on, give credit to those Rutgers players who were in foul trouble. They pulled it back a little bit. But that's one where I just think you got to figure out more ways to get that guy involved. When I look at Creighton last year, Kalkbrenner, great offense player, sure, but offensively, it's not like what he was doing was like, oh man, this is some of the most impressive big man stuff
super
I've ever
athletic,
seen.
Right?
No, it was here's a lob, here's an easy 2, here's a entry pass, just turn around, there's 2 points, and it's just frustrating because that looked like some of the best. When Braxton Mea got near the rim, there's no answer, and it's been like that for every team. But we really struggle to get him those entry passes for whatever reason. So I think it's got a point of emphasis. The other thing I want to ask you. Are you a little bit worried about the athleticism of this team? Because it did feel a little bit like Texas A&M last year, where they're just going downhill and we're kind of just putting our hands up. We don't really know how to stop it.
I said that a long time ago.
The athleticism.
If you don't have that, things you have to do, Harrison, almost called you Austin. Things you have to do is you have to either be super fundamentally sound. You have to shoot the ball, just some of the best shooting you better have. This is how Iowa has survived. Not super athletic. You'll have one and like your Keegan Murray's.
Even Creighton, they're not always loaded with the best athletes.
But they can shoot.
They can shoot.
You better be able to. I'm talking about across the board. Here's your issue. Worcester doesn't shoot. Ulis doesn't shoot. Mea is not effective because of the offensive style that you run. Now, I can tell when they ran certain sets, they were able to get good stuff. Tough stuff. Tough.
Shout out to the ticket listeners.
Ticket listeners popping by. Yeah, man. It's you better do that. You better be fundamentally sound. You better take care of the ball. You better rebound. And you want to do things like Princeton used to do. Backdoor cuts, set guys up.
You got to make up for it somehow.
Come on, you've got to make up for it. And you can never, ever lose the hustle game.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're not on athletic. They have something like Terrence. They have a Terrence Shannon Jr. types. They have two of them. And I knew that they were going to be in trouble if this game was close or it came down late, because they have guys that can do what Nebraska doesn't. Although Nebraska did get to the free throw line, where they lost the game is there because everything else was pretty equal tonight for the most part. You gave yourself a chance. You put yourself in an opportunity to win the game. You lost by not finishing your free throws, which is some of the easiest stuff you should be able to do. And you lost by not hustling in your home. They came and out hustled you. That's where the game was tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the part that's going to hurt the most is the hustle. Just being at the vault. Would that be 20 or 21 in a row?
It was 20. It would have been 21 if they would have won this game.
That would have been 21 in a row. So you drop that one.
They've only lost 5 games, 6 now.
Yeah,
in the last 3 years.
And that's, Rutgers is not the team that you'd hope to give that award to, right?
Now, we'll talk about this when we come back from a break, because there's something I want to talk about with what's ahead now that you let this one get away.
Absolutely. And real quick, we'll throw it to break here, but I want to shout out the team that did win today. I don't know if you caught it. Women's basketball. Overtime win versus Iowa. Britt Prince, big game for her.
Big game
6 for 18. You can be.
And they haven't beat Iowa there in 4 or 5 years.
It's been a hot minute.
6. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's actually been a long. It might have even been since they came into the dang league.
Yeah, and I want to shout them out because they flipped the script. Right, they went on the road on the West Coast. And, well, not just all the West Coast, but they had to play on the road. Georgia Tech, ranked opponent. Then they had to go on the road. UCLA, ranked opponent. And then they had another ranked opponent, blanking on who it was. 3 tough.
2 win losses.
3 straight
USC
losses. They get home.
USC, I think USC, UCLA.
Yeah, USC, UCLA, and then Georgia Tech. 3 ranked road losses in a row. But they didn't panic. A little bit of the opposite of kind of where this Husker team's going. We got to figure out a way to bounce back from these losses here. I'll ask this final thing.
And they were down. They were down. Had to get it to overtime.
Britt Prince was made that step back 3 to tie it up. We're going to OT. That was a huge breakout game for her, and it's going to be exciting to watch.
Markowski fouls out.
Yeah, like that.
So
that's a big moment for some of those younger players to step up, and we'll see what they can contribute. It's kind of what again, on this men's team, that's what you're looking for. It's like we got Bryce.
Scrap.
We got Juwan Gary. Who else wants to step up? We can't just bank on Connor Season shooting, lights out, day in, day out. He's pretty good today. But like I said, we will go ahead. We'll throw it to break here on the other side. Hopefully we should have Austin Orme. He's probably hanging around getting the post-game press conference. But like I said, we'll throw it to break here. Don't go anywhere. Husker Hoops post-game show talking about the tough loss to Rutgers.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Having diabetes doesn't have to ruin your new year. Join a Nebraska-supported program like Living Well with Diabetes. You'll learn how to manage your symptoms, feel more confident, and reduce stress about your diagnosis. Search Nebraska Living Well with Diabetes and click on the DHHS Healthy Living Programs page to learn more. Paid for by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it twice a day.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it in the morning and before dinner.
I get it, slip it, cuff it, check it, and share it with my doctor. Nearly 1 in 2 U.S. adults have high blood pressure. That's why it's important to self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. It starts with a monitor.
Now that I know my blood pressure numbers, I talked with my doctor. We're getting those numbers down.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Be next to talk to your doctor about your blood pressure numbers. Get down with your blood pressure. Self-monitoring is power. Learn more at manageyourbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association. In partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Yeah, we're back here. Husker Postgame Show, sponsored by Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits, as well as Action Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We're dealing with a tough one tonight. I left a little bit early. I got a chance to put my eyes on it just to get a different perspective than in the gym. The energy, obviously, the students are still not back yet. The energy wasn't super high and intense as it before. But I don't know if the Huskers gave them much to be super hyped about. Going tonight, Bryce Williams goes for 21 points on 8 of 15 shooting, 3 of 7 with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers. Gary goes for 20 as well, 6 of 13 shooting on 2 of 6 from 3, 6 of 8 from the free throw line in 35 minutes. Those two both going over 30 minutes today, playing a lot of minutes. Burke goes 0 points, 0 for 4. Struggled, didn't really look very good today with 4 personal fouls. Rolly Rooster goes 1 for 4, 8 for 10 from the free throw line, a late miss. 7 rebounds, though, gets 5 assists on 1 turnover, solid in that era. Braxton Mia goes 3 for 3, 6 points in 17 minutes, where Connor Arcesian gets 12 points on 4 of 11 in 24 minutes. And the 2 Rutgers stars go Bailey for 24. They got high shot volume. And Dylan Harper goes for 21. But a big game tonight as well out of Grant for them, who goes 7 of 8, 1 of 1 from 3 in 22 minutes, gets 15 points. Solid game for him, and some big threes as well out of Martini. So that's what we got, 85-82. Nebraska falls short to Rutgers in a big game, I thought, being that your two-game losing streak. Hadn't done that in a while, for the last year and a half at least, where you hadn't lost had a 3-game slide. Now you have that. What does it look like going forward? What did it sound like in the presser today? Austin joining us on the stream. Austin, talk to us.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me, Strick, was toughness. That was the theme from Fred Hoiberg. I mean, he credited his team for pulling down 19 offensive rebounds, but they didn't finish possessions. Gave up 17 offensive rebounds of their own, dead even overall defensive rebounding. They give up 19 second chance points to Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights make 3 threes as well. Fred Hoiberg said he thought his guys played hard, just missed out on a few key opportunities. And I think that's really the theme of it for me, Strick, is that we think about Nebraska not losing at Pinnacle Bank Arena since February 28th of 2023. It had been a long time. That was the last home game of the year against Michigan State in 2023. But when I think about the theme of toughness, Strick, you think about how often we talk about and how often we hear just how difficult it is to win on the road in the Big Ten. Pinnacle Bank Arena, I think, is pretty comfortably a top 5 road environment in the Big Ten. Rutgers came in obviously led by a couple freshmen in Harper and Bailey, but they inserted a couple other freshmen into the starting lineup. And Strick, not once did Rutgers look rattled at all. I'm not going to say it was a bad crowd from PBA necessarily. Was it the best crowd I've ever heard? No, but I don't think that was the issue. I'm going to credit Rutgers here, I think. I mean, they had those two guys in Harper and Bailey step up and make their fair share of big plays early and then down the stretch as well. Nebraska got up by as much as 9 at 15-6. And then throughout the game, you would see Nebraska get up by 4, Nebraska get up by 5 or 6. But as soon as that would happen, either Rutgers would get an easy look and knock it down, Harper or Bailey would hit a tough shot, or Nebraska would get a stop, come down with a chance to extend that lead to more than 2 possessions, and either miss a shot or give the ball away. Not horrible on the turnover front for Nebraska, but Strick, we saw Rutgers role players step up and make some key shots, right? Martini hit a couple of them. Grant had a good game, like you just mentioned. They did it early. They did it late. Whenever Nebraska was on the verge of extending that lead, Rutgers says, nope, we're not letting you get out of arm's reach. And then, to be quite honest, Strick, I think talent took over at the end of the game, right? What was Rutgers able to do? They were able to put the ball in Dylan Harper's hands and let him go to work, right? I didn't mention this, and I know some people are going to say, oh, you didn't mention it, you didn't actually say it. I got receipts. I said that this game for Nebraska had the potential to look like Terrence Shannon Jr. in the second half against Nebraska in last year's Big Ten tournament, and that's kind of what it was. Not exactly, but Dylan Harper took over in the second half. Ace Bailey hit a couple key shots, and it's not for lack of Rutgers, trying to let Nebraska back in the game. Harper goes over 2 at the free throw line. Bailey misses 1 as well before hitting his last 2. Rutgers didn't exactly slam the door on Nebraska, but throughout the course of 40 minutes, Strick, Rutgers' young team made more plays on the road than Nebraska's old team did at home. And that, I think, was the disappointing part for Fred Hoiberg, is he felt that the reason Rutgers made those plays is that they were tougher on the road than Nebraska was at home tonight.
And that's what we've talked about consistently, of what it's going to take to be top tier. Nebraska ends up being 3rd in conference last year. What's it going to take to be top tier in this, this season with such parity in the Big Ten? You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what it takes. And we've talked about that, because check this out. It doesn't get any easier. Al Cush on the stream says, we might not win another game in January at Maryland, home against USC, who's playing very well and has shown capabilities of going on the road, at Wisconsin, not very good this year, but still at home where you struggle, and they're still, they're still pretty solid. They're not like the old Wisconsin teams of old. And then Illinois, we talked about that at the stadium today. Where does it come? Maybe Washington.
Well, it's just it too. Like, if you think, that doesn't seem too bad, we just lost to Rutgers at home.
Well, and see, that's where let me push back a little bit on both of that. Nebraska will win another game in January. I feel very confident in that. I mean, it's too good a team. It's too balanced a team. But Fred Hoiberg said Nebraska has to get more consistent. I think that's the thing. Nebraska needs to find some killer instinct. But Strick, where do you find killer instinct? You kind of got to have it in you, right? Dylan Harper is an alpha. Ace Bailey is an alpha. we think we know who Nebraska wants to go to, but Bryce Williams doesn't get shots as easy as Dylan Harper got, doesn't take over and dominate the same way that Dylan Harper does. What's it going to take for Nebraska to get back into the top 3 of the conference? Maybe a down year for the rest of the conference. Maybe it's winning the right games at the right time. But really, Strick, I do think that it's a talent thing, right? Other teams have definable closers, definable go-to sets, and just guys will put the ball in the hands of late in games. Rutgers had the 2 best players on the floor tonight, in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. And yeah, Bryce Williams was pretty good. Juwan Gary was pretty good for the first 24 minutes, and then Nebraska didn't get a lot out of him. Offensively, especially in the last little bit, Rutgers' 2 best players outplayed Nebraska's 2 best players. So some of that scheme, some of it's want to, but really, Strick, I think at the end of the day, the best players on the floor played for the other team. I don't know how often Nebraska will have the 2 best players in the game. And that's really what I think the next step for this team is. How attainable, how achievable is that this year and moving forward, we'll have to see. But, Nebraska finished 3rd this year. They finished 4th in 2017-18 when they were the 5 seed in the NIT and missed the NCAA tournament. I'm not going to say Nebraska can't do it, but right now, Nebraska's goal isn't top 3. Nebraska's goal is top half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to add Orman's point there, is it likely Nebraska's not going to win another game in January? No, they'll probably win one. What I'm saying here is they just showed that they're really not in any sort of position to feel super confident in any of these games. I mean, they're going to have to really show up and try to build back that confidence that I don't even want to say it's lost, because that game really was just the energy. And it's been a little bit surprising to see the defensive side of the ball slip a little bit. When it comes to the Husker team, Strick, I'll let you two, both of you guys wrap up and give the final thoughts here on really, how big was this game, and how much is it really going to affect what you view the rest of the season going forward?
Real quick, there's someone on the stream that says top 3 in the conference. That we're talking about last year. Yeah. Last year, they were the top 3 team in the conference. They were Purdue was 17-13. Illinois was next at 14-16, and then Nebraska had the what's the tiebreaker over Northwestern, who was at 12-8. 12-8. They were actually top 3 in conference. That's what we're talking about. So I make that clear, because I think somebody was unclear that Nebraska was top 3 in the conference last year.
Let me go to the text line here, Strick. 7592 on the Starter Heyman Jewelers text line. You guys are giving way too much credit to a mediocre Rutgers team. Nebraska's defense sucked. Rutgers split the hedges, creating 4-on-2s. Way too much middle penetration for kick-out shots. Those things are preventable. Where did we
miss? Where? Huh? You must have just tuned in. Because
I just said they might not win another game in January, but all right.
Because I was going in on that before you got here, Austin. So I don't know where he got that from. I was talking about all that splits and bad. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I had no doubt you were, but welcome to the party, 7592. But I think that the bigger point here, Strick, is this is the exact bed that Nebraska has chosen to make. And now they got to lay in it, right? That has been the defensive strategy for Nebraska the better part of the last, 2-3 years is, you can hedge, you can blitz some of these guards. If they're able to get the ball out and get those numbers advantages, good for them, right? Dylan Harper was able to do that. Nebraska faced some of the same coverages, right? With Raleigh Wooster and Bryce Williams. They didn't get their big man slipping to the middle of the floor. They didn't go back against the grain and get the kick out for a 3 and then that drive off of it. But I think maybe the bigger question here is just how much is Nebraska going to lean into this defensive identity? We've talked about it a lot on offense, Strick, right? How Nebraska is in what you call the free flow, the 5 out, the dribble handoff. And I thought Nebraska mixed it up a little bit more tonight, which was a step in the right direction. Didn't necessarily work out all the time, but okay, they did a little bit of what we were asking for. We can at least see a little bit of the vision. But that has to carry over to defense as well, Strick, right? Nebraska doesn't blitz and trap consistently, right? Nebraska is supposed to either take away the paint or take away the 3. They've said, we're going to wall up in the paint. If you have a good night shooting it, you have a good night shooting. I mean, the last few opponents have gone nuts from 3 against Nebraska. Iowa especially went nuts. Purdue put on a clinic against Nebraska. And now a Rutgers team that came into the game shooting just over 30% from 3 goes 12 of 28 from long range. a couple contested ones, but you let Dylan Harper get hot. You let Ace Bailey get hot, and you left guys wide open. Maybe it was slow rotations. Fred Hoiberg says Nebraska's hands and double teams have to be more active to force more looping passes instead of more line drive skip passes to give guys a chance to recover. But Nebraska wasn't forcing tips and deflections tonight like it does when it's at its best. So in those moments, in those games, what is Nebraska's secondary defensive plan? Right now, they don't have one. They're just kind of at the mercy of the other team more so than they are at their own mercy. And that's the tricky part about basketball, Strick, is that good offense will always beat good defense. Unless you steal the ball or block the ball, dude gets a shot up, he has a chance to make it, right? But you also think that defense is within your control because you control your effort, you control your intensity in a lot of ways, right? Defense is the effort side of the ball, like we always talk about. Right now, yes, teams are shooting well against Nebraska, but we also haven't seen any changeup thrown in there, even for a couple possessions at a time. No 1-3-1, no matchup zone, no aggressive trap, no middle, nothing like that. Nebraska's doing the same thing on defense as it's done. And of course, it'll look better when teams miss shots, but Nebraska didn't necessarily do anything to throw Rutgers' rhythm off tonight. So it is on the Huskers, but also you can't shortchange Rutgers at the same time. That's why I was so excited to get to and watch this game is, yes, Nebraska didn't exactly make life hard for Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, but those guys are incredible basketball players. Nebraska didn't execute to its highest level, and they also didn't have the best players on the floor tonight. It's not either or, it's both and.
Well said. No, Austin ended it on a heater. Strick, all yours.
There it is. Great night as far as the show is concerned, and also you guys turning in for listening to the post-game show. Hey, but we hope to get a better showing as Nebraska will take on who's their next opponent?
Maryland,
Austin?
Monday, 11 a.m. Central.
Yeah,
on the road.
Wow.
Who just got walked off on a buzzer beater by Northwestern on the road. So thanks for nothing, Wildcats. Really appreciate
it. There it is. Now it's going to be a lot tougher. But we're going to get out of here, and we hope to see you guys on the next post-game show right here on The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also on